Members, good morning. We have got a quorum and it's already our scheduled time. I call the meeting to order. The Deputy Chairman has just reminded me that at 12:30 there is a meeting between former and incumbent electrical members, so I hope we can end on time. The first thing on the agenda is confirmation of minutes of our last meeting. What? We haven't got the minutes yet? All right. The Secretariat reminded me just now that the minutes are not yet ready because last time was a 4-hour session, so you can appreciate the workload of the Secretariat. First thing on the agenda, the agenda for our next meeting. We've already circulated the list of outstanding items to members. The next meeting is scheduled for the 21st of January, a Monday at 10:45. The administration has got 2 suggestions for us. Okay, the policy briefing on the 2012-13 policy address, and also the 2012 starting salaries survey findings and recommendations of the Standing Commission on Civil Service Salaries and Conditions of Service. I'd like to ask whether members agree to these 2 proposals, or do you have other suggestions? Do you want to add other items? All right. If members are agreeable, then that will be the agenda for our next meeting. Right, then we go on to our agenda proper. Employment situation of non-civil service contract staff. We have got a paper from the administration, and first of all, let us welcome Mr. Paul Tang, Secretary for the Civil Service, Mr. Raymond Wong, Permanent Secretary for the Civil Service, and also Mr. Peter Chen, Director of General Grade CSB. Welcome. They have got a paper for us. May I invite the officials to introduce the paper to us. Thank you. Madam Chair, I will not repeat what was already in the paper. I'd just like to highlight a few points. Regarding non-civil service contract staff scheme or NCSC staff scheme, we've always adhered to the following principles. First, they should be used for posts which may be time-limited, seasonal, subject to market fluctuations, or service needs that require staff to work less than the conditioned hours, or which require tapping the latest expertise in a particular area in the private sector, or where the mode of service delivery is under review or likely to be changed. Under these circumstances, permanent civil service posts should not be created because things may change, and then there aren't comparable civil service posts responsible for such service needs. So we did a special review in 2006, and back then the number of full-time NCSC staff employed by bureaus and departments were 16,488. As at the 31st of March 2006, and we believe some posts could be permanently replaced by civil service posts, as they should be a rather long term. And so far, 3,850 such positions have been phased out upon expiry of the employment contracts, and they've been replaced by civil servants. All right, I mentioned 400 NCSC posts to be phased out, and there are 1,800 similar positions which should more appropriately be carried out by civil servants. So far, 1,230 positions have been phased out and replaced by civil service posts. As at end June 2012, there were 14,535 full-time NCSC staff employed by various bureaus and departments, which is a smaller number than what it was in 2006. whenever there is a plan to phase out these posts, staff concerned would be informed well in advance, and then the recruitment information would also be relayed to these employees as soon as possible, so that they may consider applying for the civil service posts when they have the necessary experience and qualifications. To be fair, civil service positions should be filled by open recruitment. However, part-time staff should enjoy some advantage if they're already in the part-time posts, because they've got the necessary experience. So we do ask bureaus and departments to conduct regular review of the scheme to ensure that we continue to apply the principles I just mentioned. Thank you. All right, Mr. Wong Kok Heng, Mr. Martin Liao, Mr. Yip Kin Yun, Mr. Pun Xiu Peng. All right, 5 minutes each. Mr. Wong. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have closely followed this matter. In the then Civil Service, Secretary for Civil Service, Mr. Nis Yu said that 4,004 posts should be replaced by civil service positions, and she said that as at the end of last term, it should be 5,000 odd posts. So can the Secretary tell us, as at today, how many NCSC positions have been switched to civil service positions? So we want an update or the latest figures, because sometimes you say it's 4,000 and sometimes 1,000 odd, and then there will be another 1,200 odd positions. So please give us the latest statistics, because what the Secretary said just now did not tally with what Mr. Nis Yu told us previously. And I'd like to know why the permanent positions cannot be replaced by civil servants as soon as possible. Because for LCSD and the Post, Hong Kong Post and related departments, well, according to the former CA, Donald Zhang, if some of the NCSC staff were confirmed to be permanent positions, they should be replaced. Or if the work is permanent, then the positions should be replaced by civil servants as soon as possible. And I'd like to know reasons why this has not yet been done. Thank you. What we mean by Para 7 is that about 5,800 civil service NCSC positions can be replaced by civil servants. So far, it's 5,800. 5,800 positions have been turned to civil service positions. For the outstanding posts, they are still under review. And the number of civil service positions to be created per year is subject to competition. It depends on allocation of resources within the government. So we will gradually achieve this target of 5,800. For departments that have been employing NCSC staff for a long time, I think it's because some of the service needs are still under review, and we've asked departments to complete the review as soon as possible. If it is found that the work should in the long term be better done by civil servants, then we will approve resources for this to happen. But there are situations that are more complicated. And there are posts where there are no comparable civil service positions, and so they have to be filled by NCSC staff. Thank you, Secretary. I'm pleased to hear that 5,800 posts You've already completed the phasing out of 5,080, and are you going to do the rest? I welcome that. For EMSD and LCSD and Hong Kong Post, well, Hong Kong Post employs the largest number of NCSC staff to be followed by LCSD and then EMSD. I'd like to know whether these posts can be turned to civil service positions in the long term. Mr. Wong, yes, I will continue to discuss with these three departments. But for Hong Kong P and LCS and EMSD, they are subject to some restrictions because they operate on trading funds. So departments working on trading funds are subject to more constraints compared to other departments. So we do give them more room to maneuver. And for LCSD and PO, the workload is also subject to seasonal fluctuations and market conditions. So there are times when they need more manpower, though not in the long term. So they will continue to employ NCSC staff. I hope that the Secretary can give us a report after the review. Mr. Martineau? Well, it's decided that public libraries should deliver services in a mixed mode, and that is deploying civil servants in delivering frontline and support services to be augmented by more automation and part-time non-civil service staff. I'd like to know whether this mixed mode will be adopted by other departments as well. If yes, what are the criteria for work out the ratio between NCSC and civil service staff to ensure efficiency or cost effectiveness? Thank you. We do not have a fixed ratio for the two types of staff in the in government. A department that wants to employ NCSC staff will only be approved, will only be allowed on the grounds of operational needs. Now, I outlined a few principles. Now, if these principles are not complied with, then in the long term, the work should be done by civil servants. For LCSD, is rather unique. In other departments, the fluctuation in workload may not be that drastic, but for some departments, the workload or service demands would fluctuate greatly during the year. If we employ civil servants to do the work, then during low periods, perhaps they will be underemployed, or they will be rather idle. So if the workload is subject to seasonal fluctuation, then we will allow NCSC staff. For instance, during a particular quarter, the workload may surge, and then extra manpower is needed. So this is an acceptable criterion. But if the work is just the same throughout the year, then it should better be done by civil servants. Mr. Kim Yoon. Thank you, Chairman. Well, the number of NCSC staff remains on the high side, and it's particularly serious for some departments. I have two questions. The first one is on the Education Bureau. It ranks fourth in the number of NCSC staff employed, 1,234, 1,234. Very interesting figure. Taking up 8.5% of all NCSC staff. If you look at Appendix E4, we see that there
are 886 who are employed to meet the unique operational needs in government schools under school-based management initiatives. 886. This is a staggering figure to me, because in all government secondary schools we have around 100 government schools. So in other words, there is on average 8 to 9 such staff in every school, and I presume that they are the young teaching assistants. So compared to all aided schools in Hong Kong, this figure is on the very high side. In other words, 1 out of 4 teachers is an NCSE staff. And I think that a review has been made recently, but that it seems there hasn't been any improvement. Do we think the situation can be accepted? Do we need to improve the situation? Some of them have worked continuously for 5 years, and they're definitely not temporary staff. Why do we have to use this kind of way to treat our younger generation? That they are subject to this kind of employment mode. Then the aided schools may also follow suit, and they may also use this approach to adopt a contract staff, to employ contract staff. So that's my first question. Can we do something to improve the situation? The second question is, in the review procedures now, the directorate staff in every department will monitor or supervise the NCSE staff scheme. Now, if irregularities are found, would the relevant staff be subject to any kind of penalties? These are my 2 questions. Thank you, Mr. Yee, for your question. I'll answer part of the question. I'll defer to colleagues to answer questions relating to the EDB. 2 points. First, because of the operation mode of the government, unavoidably, NCSE staff have to be maintained. Say, for example, there are works which are seasonal in nature, but if the staff are employed on a continuous basis, we have the aim to convert them to civil servant staff. Now, on how to monitor the different departments, we have a ceiling for every department or bureau, and we will regularly review the situation to see whether the numbers can be further cut. And especially NCSE staff who have been employed on a long-term basis, we will look into whether a review is needed to turn them into civil servants. Of course, that has to be seen. A factor has to be considered whether there are comparable civil service grades. Well, I don't think we should need to talk about penalties here, because the departments and the bureaus have to give full justifications. And if they can't give full justifications, they will not be able to employ the SCSE staff exceeding our permitted ceiling. Now, on the EDB, I'll ask my colleague to supplement. Chairman, I'd like to give some figures. There are 886 staff related to the school-based management initiatives. 268 are teaching assistants, and 270 are workers, and 138 are clerks. Well, we have looked into staff who have been employed on a long-term basis. We are talking with the EDB on whether the situation needs to be improved. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, it's you. Thank you, Chairman. Annex A in today's paper. I'd like an explanation from the Secretary. I have compared similar figures for last year. 26 departments have increased the number of NCSC. The HAB and the Labour Department, 60% and 56% increase respectively. I would like to know the reasons and the Annex B. You said here 32.6% of them, or 4,741, have worked for over 5 years. Do you have more specific information on this category? Well, 5 years is a long time. Can't we turn these 4,000 plus NCSC staff into civil servants? Can you explain or elaborate? Perhaps I'll defer to Mr. Chen to answer. Chairman, individual bureaus and departments may have increased their NCSC staff number. In most cases, they are to meet with the short-term service needs or jobs which have to be undertaken on an ad hoc basis. So that's the main reason for bringing in NCSC staff. CSB is very concerned and pays a lot of attention to what's happening at the departments and bureaus. So we're monitoring them closely, and if there are irregularities, we will make sure that we discuss with the relevant departments and bureaus. What about those who have worked for 5 years or more? What are the job types involved? Well, 4,000 plus, or close to 5,000 people in this category. It's a lot. So we'll provide the information after the meeting. Secretary, do you have anything to add? Yes, I would like to say a few points. Several reasons for this long service contracts and departments. The first one is they may have worked there for 5 years, but then they may have worked in different positions within the same department. So for these type of people, they are included in this category. Second, the government has such kinds of programs which last a longer time, say for the continuous or the CEF, which will end at some time, but then there is still reserve in the fund. It's a time-limited program, but it's quite a long program. Thirdly, there are job types. In which the NCSC staff has to work for a shorter time than the normal civil service in comparable grades. So, for example, staff members who sort mails in PO, and they may work, say, for 3 days in a week and not 7 days a week. And there are problems in filling that post with a civil servant. So the Secretariat has also said that for some jobs, the service delivery mode involved is being under reviewed, and we've not been able to decide on whether these posts are going to be filled by civil servants or NCSC staff. So adding all these up, then it will mean quite a number of people. So, but then I can assure members that we are closely monitoring the situation and asking the departments and bureaus to review regularly on the NCSC staff situation. Does Mr. Chen have anything to add on the figures? Yes, for NCSC staff on who have worked 5 years or more, around 30% of them have actually been working in different positions within the same department. Thank you, Chairman. So in other words, there may be people who have been NCSC staff who have worked for over 10 years in the same department, right? Yes. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Well, the permanent secretary is being reshuffled all the time. Say Anissa Wong in the LCSD. I mean, she's blaming the other people, and then she's not been penalized at all. And there is a reshuffling of senior government civil servants as well. What you say doesn't make sense. Mr. Raymond Wong, you also have worked in different departments from 2003 onwards. You've worked in the department to explain the basic law, and you just listen to your boss's words. So the NCSC staff, they've worked so hard, and over 30% of them have worked for 5 years or more in the government. You are just like an unscrupulous employer. I think you are just trying to save costs. And Mr. Anthony Leung has asked Mr. Tong to run the government on a commercial principle. I mean, that's what you are doing. You are trying to share. You said you try to share the fruits of economic success. Well, that's all meaningless and nonsense. The intermediary agencies are referring all these clerks to the government, and they're not doing a good job. You've got such a big reserve. Why can't you turn them into civil servants if you can? You've been always saying that human resources are important. But then if a young person doesn't know what is going to happen to him, how can he have social mobility? I think you are making all sorts of nonsense. Mr. Wong, let me ask you, and Mr. Tang, let me ask you. If you don't know whether you've got a job tomorrow, you may not even have a housing allowance. Would you be keen on coming into work in your position? Now, for Hong Kong Post, you say that that's a trading fund, and it's difficult to monitor their manpower situation. I don't think that's a good enough excuse. If they are being outperformed by DXL, why don't you just shut it down? Well, you have to ensure that there is a stable supply of service in Hong Kong. So even if some courier service is closed down, then Hong Kong still has a stable sort of courier service in place in Hong Kong. There are so many cases in my office which you don't have the manpower to handle. Say, elderly people couldn't be transferred to another elderly residential care home, and you're giving all sorts of excuses like you don't have the manpower. Why can't you establish a civil service team which is stable, which encourages training and provides training to civil servants? Do you think the permanent secretary should also be employed on using such a model? Mr. Wong, Mr. Tang, well, the work portfolios you are looking after are really the so-called disastrous areas. What kind of expert knowledge you have? You are just a generalist. And why are you earning such a high income? Mr. Wong, same to you too. Give me an explanation. I don't want money from you. I want a good reason from you. Do you think what you're doing is fair? Do you think you should be just like the NCSC staff? Your work nature is also seasonal. So Mr. Leung and Mr. Zhang are working in different manners. So the government is such a rich government. I'm not saying that you should just employ these NCS staff without good reasons. I'm asking you to be fair. You are employing the NCSE staff for over 5 years, and it means they are just like you, generalists. They can be rotated around the government department. Now, why is it that you can sit comfortably here in your office, and then the welfare of these people is being neglected? Give me good justification or reason.
In response, Secretary? Well, as I explained earlier, there are NCS staff. Well, you are an NCS staff. If NCS staff has been employed for a long time, yes, we should discuss with the departments, because it's not the most desirable situation. So why is it that over 37% of the staff have been employed for more than 5 years? Some of them have been served for more than a decade. Why can't they become civil servants? You yourself is a civil servant. Anissa Wong has been moved from one position to another. She failed to tackle the strike, and then she was unable to help other issues. She's been moved from one post to another. Any other response? No. Mr. Tan Ka-pio. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to see whether we can have more analysis for annexes C, D, and E. They contain useful breakdown of the statistics. So with 10 departments employing the largest number of NCSE staff should be placed side by side such statistics so that we can understand whether individual departments should consult trade unions and also the public. But we don't have such information. It's hard to discuss this issue. For Hong Kong Post and LCSD, we have queried time and again whether they need to employ 2,000 odd NCSE staff for so long. Now, for Hong Kong Pass, I think you're not being fair to the staff. You said that the workload is subject to seasonal fluctuation. Yes, Hong Kong Post has got staff employed on hourly or daily basis, but for some of them, they have been employed on yearly contracts. I'm sure all of them have been employed on yearly contracts. You are misleading us by saying that, well, the workload may surge at a particular quarter and then drop in a particular quarter. You said that it has to have sufficient transparency or flexibility to because of the trading fund. I have recently dealt with cases from the Hong Kong Post staff working for at the airport. Yes, they of course want to become civil servants, yet they have served for 13, 14 years and they're asking for overtime pay. Because Hong Kong Post civil servants can enjoy overtime pay, but not NCSE staff. And according to the head of Hong Kong Post, he does support this claim, but is not supported by the CSB. Well, according to the director or the secretary, they give a lot of flexibility for the operation of the Hong Kong Post. But why is it like this? Why aren't you flexible enough to allow them to give overtime pay to NCSE staff of Hong Kong Post? I can invite Mr. Chen to supplement later. The total number of NCSE staff employed by different departments, please refer to Annex A. And you can see the number of such staff members being employed by different departments. And the flexibility enjoyed by departments on trading funds. Well, of course, we give them some flexibility as to the number of NCSE staff. We give them a cap. For non-trading fund departments, we are stricter with the cap. But for trading fund departments, we give them flexibility as regards the number of NCS staff they employ. And for the but for other issues such as pay conditions, well, they must not be more favorable than comparable civil service posts. So individual departments may have some discretion. They can enjoy discretion in deciding pay, but it must not be more favorable than that enjoyed by other civil servants in comparable positions. So we do give them some flexibility in terms of manpower and pay. Perhaps I should invite Mr. Chen to supplement. Yes, allow me to do so. As far as I know, not all Hong Kong Post staff are employed on a monthly paid, some employed on daily or hourly wages. For instance, those responsible for sorting of mails or processing of mails. The staff are employed on hourly or daily wages instead of monthly wages. But I think in the main they're employed on monthly wages. Only 200 odd of them are employed on hourly or daily wages. Please do not shift the focus. Well, if I heard the member correctly, there were, according to the honourable member, no NCSC staff employed on hourly or daily wages in the Hong Kong Post. That's not true. All right. Hong Kong Post can deploy such staff on the basis of their workload and the amount of mail they have to process. Can NCSC staff enjoy overtime pay? Because they are employed in an all-inclusive pay package, and so we do not have any. We do not offer OT pay or other allowances. That is an integral part of the plan or the scheme. Well, in the first round, we still have Lee Chek Yen, Che Wei, Chun Lang, Chi Keung, Kok Wei Keung, and second round, Ip Kim Yun and Tan Ka Bill. 5 minutes each again. I hope we can wrap up this item by noon. Mr. Lee Chek Yen. Well, we can see how unscrupulous the government is. But then it is more skillful in sophistry. For those unscrupulous employers in the market, they will say that because we do this so as to make savings and to make profits. But for the government, well, 4,000 odd of them, or 37% of them, have been employed for over 5 years. And according to the Secretary, because they were posted to different posts, but still some of them are working in the same department or even different departments. The employer is still the government. 4,700 odd staff members, they have been cheated, ripped off for so many years. Some of them have been working there for 5 or 8 years. I hope we can have statistics in writing. Give us a more detailed breakdown how many of them have been working for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and 8 years, and what department have they served. I can quite confidently say that they must be from Hong Kong Post and EMSD. And other sophistry, art of sophistry you employ is, why can't EMSD and PO NCSC staff be turned to civil service positions? And according to the administration, because workload is subject to market fluctuations. Well, even though there are fluctuations, you've been employing the same amount of NCSC staff for 10 years. So what fluctuations are you talking about? You are still serving the same clients. EMSD will always have HA, a hospital authority, as its client. And Hong Kong Post is still employing 2,000 odd staff. So history shows that regardless of the fluctuations, you are still employing the same number of staffs. You have ripped people off for more than a decade, and you want to continue to do so. This is totally unsupportable. So, shouldn't you review the scheme because 2 out of your 4 principals are really there to cheat people? First, workload may be subject to market fluctuations, or where the mode of service delivery is under review or likely to be changed. Your review can go on forever. So can't you remove these 2 principles, A and D? So as soon as an NCSC staff member has served you for a certain period of time, the post or he or she should be turned to a civil servant. Well, in some universities, the limit is 3 years, and even for civil servants, they become permanent staff after 3 years. So, can you do something to ensure that they will not always be second class in the government? And to ensure that they have job stability. And the Secretary said that departments are free to decide the employing conditions. What's wrong with you is you do not stipulate things that are favorable to staff. You allow departments to exploit their workers. Take Hong Kong Post as an example. About 30% of them cannot enjoy public holidays. Why don't you specify that all NCSC staff can have paid public holidays? Now, for civil servants, they only enjoy 17 public holidays in a year. Why don't you allow NCSC staff to have the same? So this is outrageous. I'd like to ask whether there will be a full review, and can you please don't continue to exploit your staff, otherwise you'll be the role model of unscrupulous employees in Hong Kong, and then employees will suffer. Secretary. Well, I think the 4 principles have been decided after very thorough consideration, and we believe they are appropriate. It's true that some NCSC staff have served for a long time, and we do care for them, and will decide or discuss with departments as to how to deal with such cases. In the administration, there will continue to be NCSC staff because there are no civil servants positions, and as I said, there are some types of work subject to seasonal fluctuations or market fluctuations. For instance, during a particular quarter of the year, the workload will greatly increase, and it's difficult to employ civil servants to do the job. And for trading fund departments, they have to consider their manpower as well as their financial situation, because they are financially autonomous, or they have to be self-sufficient. And of course, we have to comply with the employment ordinance. On top of that, different departments can set out the conditions of work to cater for their needs. Mr. Chia Wai Lun. Thank you, Chairman. I of course agree with the Secretary that we need NCSC staff. But looking at the figures, I think the number of this type of staff is on the high side. You have about 10% of them. Although you want to reduce the number, it's only 1%, by 1% after so many years. Some have served for more than 3 years, over 48% of them.
I think the percentage is quite high. For these NCSC staff, a number of professionals have reflected to us that their contracts are renewed on a yearly basis. Then that creates a lot of instability. That's my first point. Of course, there is no annual increment too, and that's very different from civil servants. And they don't have any chances of promotion. And even if civil service posts are going to be created, they are not accorded any priority. So how can you attract talent? Now, we would be actually launching a lot of poverty alleviation and housing initiatives. Now, would we say again that the job types involved may be sort of on a contract basis? Would that again add to the overall number of SCSC staff? As what some colleagues said, I think we should definitely need a review on the NCSE staff. The figures are on the high side, as I said. Also, the housing department, the buildings department, has employed 438 NCSE staff. They are involved mainly in the building safety initiatives and Operation Building Bright project. I don't think they are short-term programs. We've got so many buildings which are over 30 years old, and the housing problem is a pressing issue in the community. I think we definitely need to reconsider the situation. If you are asking the individual department to make a decision, then I think that's really an excuse. I think the government should make a decision or a policy. If there are so many people who have served for over 3 years, why don't you sign a 3-year contract with them? Also, my question on buildings department, 338 NCSC staff. Do you have any figures on the ones who have served for the longest, a very long period? About the 1-year contract, I'm not sure that I know what you're asking about, but anyway, individual departments have their own considerations, and if the terms of employment are not attractive, they will not be able to recruit people. So I think they can draw up their criteria. Now they are free to draw up a 2-year or 3-year contracts, but I'm not sure why they are having these 1-year contracts. But I'm sure the departments have considered whether they can attract the people from the market with the employment conditions they offer. If NCSE staff are employed, say, for 3 or 5 years, and there is no need for them to be converted into civil servant staff, I think the department will consider the point of stability. Well, I'm sure they will offer these 3-year and 5-year contract unless the job lasts for only 1 year. Now, on buildings department, perhaps I'll invite Mr. Chan to supplement. The job types that you mentioned, yes, they are of a long-term nature, but then they are not permanent programs or permanent jobs. So they still have this difficulty of converting them all into civil service posts, because several years down the road, 5 years down the road or 7 years down the road, they may not need that manpower level. So 3-year or 5-year contracts may be needed in this kind of situation. Mr. Chan perhaps may like to supplement. Chairman, the Secretary has explained that for the buildings department, some of the jobs require are of 5 years or more in duration. If we are to convert these positions to civil service positions, there are difficulties because they are not type of regular work. So once the programs have been completed, so how do we deal with these people? Mr. Leung Chi Chang. Thank you, Chairman. for these NCSC staff, they take up around 10% of the total civil service workforce. I want to know, is there such large amount of a sort of flexible jobs in the government work? Say, EHD, LCSD, they do a lot of outsourcing. Do workers in the outsource work included in these statistics that we are presented with? So you have already outsourced some jobs which are sort of unstable, of an unstable nature, and then we still have to employ over 10,000 of these NCSC staff. I don't know why there is such a large number of NCSC staff. The figures are close to 40% of them have served 5 years or more. This is a large number. So, in other words, the jobs are quite stable in my mind, and it's not what you say, it's unstable. So some colleagues have also mentioned that if we can gradually turn these positions into civil service positions, I don't think the government has an overall policy, and they will renew the NCSC staff on a yearly basis, and it seems that they have an easy way out doing it like that. But non-equal pay for equal work is something that is of great concern to the legislative members, and they may affect, have an overall impact on the civil service. So I hope that the administration can devise a mechanism to deal with the future of the NCSC staff. Say, can you drop a certain percentage, 30%, which will be turned into civil service positions? I think you can consider that. So this group of people who don't have job security, then they can have job security, and they can be turned into civil servants in the future. I think this is something that can be considered. Another thing, for those who have served 5 years or more, 4,741 of them, where are they distributed? In which departments mainly? The Secretary said just now that it's up to the individual departments to decide on whether to employ NCSC staff. I don't think that's right. Well, if they have to employ so many people for so long a time, it means that they need these people on a long-term basis. So can you draw up a policy to ask them to turn them into civil servants? Well, thank you, Mr. Leung, for your question. Several points that I would like to speak on. Maybe I'll ask the colleagues to supplement later. I think the goals and objectives are very clear. Departments all know well that if it's regular work, then they have to turn these NCSC staff into civil servants. But we can't do it at one go in 1 year to convert too many in 1 year, so that we need time to do that. So, yes, they have decided to convert them, to make the conversion, but they still haven't the resources. There is this type of positions. Now, on the objective or a ratio to be set, I don't think it's the right way of doing it. I think a more appropriate way is that we continue with talking to the government departments and to decide on which positions can be converted. We will talk to them individually on what type of positions can be converted into civil service positions. So the 1,800 positions These are the positions we think can be converted and identified at a later stage. It's better to do it that way than setting a target. Now, we've got some job types which are on a long-term basis, but they may not be stable in nature. For example, in the Inland Revenue Department, there are seasonal workloads, and they may need people at certain times of the year. And if they may employ NCSE staff who may not work to the conditioned hours of work of civil servants, they still need to employ them on a long-term basis. So we can't really say that people who have served for 3 years or 5 years, they can be automatically turned into civil servants. We have to really look at whether there is such job types in the government and the workload and so on. The workers in the outsourced sourcing work or employed by the contractor are not included within the statistics we are talking today. Which main government departments are employing people for over 5 years? Okay, we will supplement the information later on. Mr. Kwok Wai Kang, thank you, Chairman. Full-time NCSE staff from 2001 to 2011 is some 10,000 people. Never change. There has never been a reduction in the figures of over 10,000 people. Why is that? When I first worked on labor issues, I record that all the 16,000 civil servants positions have not been fully filled, and several thousand are vacancies. And we've asked why there are such vacancies. And they told me that some civil servants may apply for transfer or there may be promotions. So there are these vacancies. So not all the 16,000 positions have been filled. So that's why there aren't sufficient manpower within the civil service. Why can't the administration admit it? A lot of the civil servants are having a hard working life, and the labor unions have been telling us that they aren't the capacity is limited, and they aren't able to deal with their workload. Why are you so rigid in your figures? Now the economy has turned for the better, and we've got such a big reserve. If there is such a manpower shortage, can we think about the pressure faced by the civil servants and then turn the NCSC staff into civil servants? I think our demand is not really too much, and we're just asking that NCSE staff who have served for 3 years or more to be turned into civil service positions. We are just asking around 7,000 people to be converted. Those who have worked for 3 years or more can't. Can we deal with this group first and convert them into civil servants first? Now, on the manpower shortage, in 2006, there were 16,000 NCNC staff, and then 4,000 of them have been converted into civil service positions, and we're left with 12,000 or so. And now this year we've got an increase into 14,000 or so. Can the government relax a little bit your target line? Can we not increase the number of civil servants to meet with the new government initiatives in the pipeline? Can you not be so rigid? Thank you, Mr. Kwok.
First, the actual number the actual strength of the civil service is about 660,000. And the size of the civil service has enjoyed increases in the past few years. And according to the CE, when necessary, a number of civil servants can be increased. On average, there has been a 1% increase in the establishment, but we have to be fair to taxpayers. We cannot all of a sudden allow the civil service to inflate too much. But if there are genuine worker demands, so we will increase the size of the civil service. And I expect that there will be more strength or establishment in the coming year. We have allowed the size to increase so as to turn some NCSC staff to civil servants, and we want to ensure job stability. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but time is limited. I hope you would really consider increasing manpower with consideration to the workload of the civil service. And the trading fund concept cannot work anymore. There used to be speculation on stamps, and so the trading fund was very profitable. But now, according to trade unions, Hong Kong Post and says the staff have accumulated over 200,000 hours of OT. How are you going to address that? Secretary, this is something for the Hong Kong Post to tackle. It's not for us to say how the trading fund should continue. Second round, Yip Kin Yuen, Tanka, Pio, Lee Chuk Yan, and Kok Wai Keung. 3 minutes each, please. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to follow up on the issue of the Education Bureau. I'd like to clarify some figures. According to E4, there are 800 odd NCSC staff employed for SBM initiatives, 268 teaching assistants, 270 janitor staff, and 138 clerical staff. All right, please clarify the figures. And secondly, school-based management initiatives is a long-term policy. Why is it that for a long-term and established policy you have to employ 800 odd NCSC staff to carry out the work, and over 200 of them have been employed for more than 5 years already? Today, which criteria, which principle of the 4 have been fulfilled in employing these 800 staff members? I'd like to ask how CSB monitor the situation. Will it ask different departments to categorize the needs, or to provide breakdown of the reasons for employing these staff? We, on a regular basis, discuss with heads of departments the operation of the departments, and among them we'll certainly discuss the employment of NCSC staff. For departments that have employed a sizable number of NCSC staff for a long time, we will discuss with them, and we can also adjust the cap. We may even lower the cap when necessary. But of course, when there are really special circumstances, we give them a special cap. But that's on the ground of a particular scheme. If the scheme is no longer here, then the cap will be adjusted. Have you asked these departments which principle are they adhering to in employing these staff members? Mr. Chen. All right, I will clarify the figures. I said 886. I gave you 3 figures. They are the main figures. For the rest, we can supply them later. What about the principles? Can you please respond? if schools or departments cannot give you the principles for employing the staff, how do you monitor? I think that's the major role of the Bureau. Mr. Chen. Yes, we have noted that the Education Bureau has been employing quite a large number of NCSE staff for protracted period, and we will consider posts where there are long-standing needs. We will see whether they can be turned to civil service positions. Will you report to us your discussion, the outcome of your discussion? Certainly. When? It's going to take some time. When we have the information, we'll report to the panel in due course. Let's put it on our list of follow-up items. First round, Ms. Claudia Mo. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask about the RTHK. Radio Television Hong Kong is quite a special government department. It is a government department, and yet it is also playing the role of a public broadcaster, and it also enjoys editorial independence. Now, while I don't have the figures with me at hand, I understand that many of the employees have been employed as part-time contract staff for a long time. So for this very special department, if they would like to turn NCSE staff to civil servants, theoretically, it's just like other departments. People are free to apply to fill the positions. But people in the press or in the media have their special expertise and skills. Given the case, will they be given special consideration in the transfer? Director, I don't say this specifically for the RTHK, but in general, we use opening recruitment to fill new civil service posts. That's also recommended by the Commission. And when RTHK has got new civil service positions, then of course it will conduct open recruitment exercises. If they're already NCSE staff, if they're interested, then they should enjoy a competitive edge if they are to apply for these positions. And their experience will be given consideration in the recruitment exercise. What competitive edge are you talking about? You told us that they enjoy a competitive edge. In what way? Assuming that he has served in this department, and he should have a better understanding of the operation of the department compared to someone from outside the government, he should enjoy some advantage. Of course, whether he will be employed depends on the other things, but experience of the government. As an NCSE staff, does give him a competitive edge in applying for a civil service position. Thank you. I'd like to ask about para 7 and 8. Well, in between 06 to 2012, there should be about 5,080 NCSE staff being employed to fill civil service positions. So I'd like to know, among these 5,000 odd employees, how many of them were from Hong Kong Post or EMSD? Do you have these figures with you? I don't have them with me now. I don't have the details, but I can supply the information afterwards. Well, because the figures can be very enlightening. All right, you have given birth to a son, and you have asked him to pack up and leave the civil service family. We want to fight for better treatment of these NCSC staff, and you tell us that that's not possible because you have your rules. Of course, you may not be able to turn all NCSC staff to civil servants, but for those that have served the Hong Kong Post for more than a decade, we want them to say enjoy OT pay, and you say it's not possible. Well, you may say that you have created thousands of civil service posts for NCSC staff to transfer to these positions. From what I've heard, some trading fund departments have refused to do so because that may increase the expenditure. Secretary, I think trading fund departments will consider their financial operation. If departments want to have civil service positions for the NCSC staff, of course we will consider their application. Can the CSB meet the relevant trade unions for this particular case? Since you have also got a group of NCSC staff that have served for more than 5 years or 10 years, they would like to enjoy similar treatment as their civil service counterparts in, say, the receipt of overtime pay. Can you really discuss with these trade unions? Well, even within the civil service, civil servants who join at different periods may enjoy different remuneration packages. So, can individual departments improve their quality of service? It is for them to decide. And they should also consider whether they can retain talents if the package they offer is less favorable. For trading fund departments, they have greater concerns because they have to bear in mind their financial operation. I'm sure the Hong Kong Post will continue to maintain liaison with the trade unions. Second round, Mr. Lee Chuk-yen. Now, this is not a problem of the Hong Kong Post, but rather the Civil Service Bureau. If you can give us a list of departments employing NCSC staff for the longest period of time, well, I'm sure we will be talking about the RTHK. RTHK has exploited NCSF staff for more than a decade, and Claudia asked a question about the RTHK. There were about 80 civil service positions created by RTHK, and what will happen in the future, because there are still 300 odd left. They could not be changed because the role of the RTHK was under review, but it is already decided that it will continue to be a public department. But if you say that they are too old, they cannot be employed as civil servants, would that be a kind of age discrimination? So please give us a paper to address these issues. And I think you are not fair and just to your staff because of the two trading departments. After all, it's the government who set up the trading fund departments, and you force these departments to be unscrupulous employers. They have created a whole bunch of long-term part-time staff. Now, I'm not about those on hourly or daily wages. You have 1,000 full-time NCS staff who have served you for more than a decade. So, I'd like to ask the CSB whether you have preferential treatment for trading fund departments. Is it true that you have no regard for how they treat their staff, and you allow them to hide under the pretext of seasonal fluctuation and market conditions, and actually you are conniving them to exploit their staff?
Secretary, 2 points to to make here. Well, whether to turn NCSC staff to civil service positions is something that the individual departments has to make a request to us. Now, let's not talk about those who are on hourly wage. I'm talking about full time. You are like that every time. Well, the hours of work is not the most important consideration. Now, about the trading fund departments, they have to ensure that they have good enough attractive conditions to attract talents or employees. I don't think they will be unscrupulous, because they have to ensure that the conditions of service meet with the employment ordinance. These conditions will not be more favorable than the civil service terms of conditions, but under that they still have room to improve on their terms and conditions of service, and it's really up to the individual department to decide. We have to give these trading fund departments the flexibility to decide on the number of NCS staff. Well, it goes to show that you are allowing these trading fund departments to be unscrupulous employers, because you are giving them all these flexibility. You are allowing them to exploit the employees as much as they want. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong, second round, please be brief, because we have to go to another item. Trading fund. So they are now operating like a company, give them some money, but then they're not a company as such. Now, in face of global competition, the DHL is very competitive, and that creates serious problems. Public services can't be operated like that. If we are to run government departments like that, we can cut a lot of our bureau directors and permanent secretaries. Well, we can say further cut down on the number of bureau directors if we operate the government like what you do with the trading fund departments. We are a cosmopolitan city. We need a group of people dedicated to public service. If they are too lazy, you can fire them, and we can train them if they are not competent enough. And then you are now leaving everything up to the market. You were not doing the right thing, not doing a review in 1999. At that time, our budget was in the red, and we were hit by the financial crisis, and a lot of people suffered from negative assets. And now, with the time now, is different. Now we're talking about mainland Hong Kong integration, and you're spending a lot of resources on that front. What are you doing now with Hong Kong's local public services? You've got such a big reserve, and you're not spending the money well. You've got so many targets in your public services, so you're not expanding the staff complement. If we are doing too much, we're doing a lot on Hong Kong mainland integration and not doing well in providing good public services, then that's a failure. I think we should conduct a full review. And at the year 1999, we haven't got terms like financial tsunami or quantitative easing and so on. In 1999, China has not yet joined the WTO. So please go back and tell Mr. Leung first to stabilize the civil service. What you are doing is doing damage to the civil service. So I hope that the two government officials here, please go back and relay our views to the CE. I formally raise to the administration that the plan that they set in 1999, should that be reviewed? Did the trading fund start in 1999? Oh, sorry, I don't have the information here with me. I would relay your views to the relevant bureaus. Perhaps we'll set another time for the LegCo to discuss the trading fund. Well, you're just a temporary staff member. If you don't know about all about trading fund, Mr. Claudiamo, I want to follow up on the question on RTHK. The Secretary said that all government departments are dealing with it in the same way. But then when Mr. Lee Chuk-yen followed up on his question, and the Secretary said that it's up to individual government to make a request to us. Now, in the paper you presented today, you mentioned a lot of the government departments, and it was silent on RTHK. And as we all know, we have a lot of contract staff who have worked for a long time, over a decade maybe, and you're telling us that you don't know whether RTHK has made a request to you for the NCSC staff to be converted into civil service positions. Can you tell us whether they have made the request? Is there a timetable? Is there age discrimination? Say, if I have served in RTHK as an NCSC staff for over 2 decades, would you be discriminating against me because I'm, say, over 50 years old? I may have a competitive edge in my experience, but because I'm so old, I'm 55 years old, I stand a lesser chance of getting employed. Now, Mr. Chen would supplement on RTHK. So I just wanted to clarify that if government departments would like to create new civil service positions or turn NCNA positions into civil service positions, they have to come to make an application. And the same goes to the RTHK. Now, if they've got the money, they would do an open recruitment. And in the open recruitment, the NCNA staff can, of course, lodge an application. We don't set any age limits either. You haven't really fully answered my question. Mr. Chen would like to supplement, is that right? Mr. Chen, anything to add from you? Numbers, timetable for RTHK. I know that they are applying for creating new positions. How many? No, sorry, I don't have such information at hand. Yes, please give me a paper later on. I think we have discussed the topic for over 1.5 hours. We've got another item to go. So thank you, the two government officials and the Secretary. Well, I've raised my hand before Claudia Mo. Oh, the Secretary hasn't got it down. So all right, please be quick. Yes, a simple question. 3 things. Chairman, can we hold a public hearing on NCSC staff, this subject, and ask the civil servants associations and labor unions to express their views? That's for the chairman. And the second thing, apart from those who NCSE staff who are in employment that they have low morale, those who are really managing these staff have faced problems too, because they have difficulty in managing different types of people. I hope the administration can pay attention to that. And then I want a reply from the Secretary on this one. Take Hong Kong Post as an example. If the trading fund doesn't work, what are you going to do? And it seems that the Secretary said that they are not going to have anything to do with it. Now, it seems that it's not working well. I think you should do something about it. You can't leave the problem like that. I don't think it's for the CSB to answer that question. Well, if members are interested, we can ask the administration to give us a paper on Hong Kong Post and its trading fund. Do members agree to hold a public hearing? Yes. All right, we'll find a time and a venue. Please make sure that you attend that public hearing, well, including myself, of course. Okay, thank you, government officials. Let's invite the next team of government officials to come in on the second agenda item.
Hi.
Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Welcome. Government economist Mrs. Helen Chen and Ms. Reddy Ng, principal economist, EABFU. This is an item about creating a D2 position in the FSS office in support of research on poverty alleviation. I have a question myself. I support the creation of this post in principle. I'm just afraid that you don't have sufficient manpower. Mrs. Chan, you've got 4 principal economists on D2 leading 4 teams. How many people do you have in total? In the EAD, we have 28 people. Does it include the ones from the FSS office? The economists, 28 in number. All right, that's the number for the entire EABFU. But then we still have some economists in other bureaus. Several of them. Then in total, we've got 34 permanent positions of economists. 5 of them are at the directorate level. Which other government departments do you have economists in? Several of them. One is in Transport and Housing Bureau. A senior economist there, FSTB. One is senior economist and one is economist. And CEDB, one economist on tourism. And also Environment Bureau, one economist as well. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I asked this because that I know that in some Chinese banks, they've got 50 people in the economic analysis division. Now, there are a lot of people under HKMA. They've got people who have got a doctorate degree, and they've got this research institute who publish a lot of professional articles showing a lot of expertise. Now, I'm trying to not to offend Mrs. Chan, but then our economist posts are only promotion posts. We don't have anyone who has got a doctorate degree. Is the government lagging behind the times? Well, Chairman, you have to appreciate that this is a government department. We're not a university. We can't require a doctorate degree as a basic entry requirement. But if we look at the 34 economists in the various government departments, all except one hold a master's degree or above, and 4 of them are actually doctors.
I think that's the qualifications are rather high within the civil service. And as far as macroeconomic analysis is concerned, in the past 5 years, we have got over 100 thematic papers uploaded to our website and also our economic report. Within how many years? 5 years, 100 articles. For instance, we considered the impact on Hong Kong of quantitative easing, how we assess the property market, and also the U.S., the impact on Hong Kong of the U.S. Fiscal cliff. So we do have thematic and a current analysis from a risk assessment point of view. No, I must confine my speaking time to 5 minutes, but I'd just like to say a few more words. However, the only 2 on the list, myself and Lee Chuk-yen. Oh, all right. Deputy Chairman Yip Kin Hong and Leung Kwok Hong. I allow myself 2 more minutes. Mrs. Chen, you said that there are a few doctors in your unit. I have no intention to be biased towards qualifications. However, Hong Kong MA, for instance, they have employed people from a monetary school or certain schools from Chicago University. So when you have future recruitment, would you apply or to hire candidates from the major economic schools of the world? And you've got 100 articles in 5 years, but some banks an article per week. And I saw your impact on your assessment on WKCD and and other things. Well, they have been done by other institutions already. So no offense, but I'd like to know whether you will reflect our views to the FS. Well, that may affect the promotion of incumbent civil servants, but can you relay our views to the FS? Thank you. We do appreciate that we have to be very restrained in the creation of civil service posts. In our past recruitment exercises, we have received over 1,000 applications fighting for a few openings. Many of them were from world-famous universities, from Stanley University, for instance, and many of them graduated with first honor. So the recent new colleagues do have high potential and very young and talented. Will this new post be a promotion post? Well, for economists, we always recruit from outside the civil service. But since this is a supernumerary post and a time limit for 3 years, so it will be filled by internal promotion. Internal, okay. Lee Chuk-yen. I hope we have more left-wing economists serving the government, and please do not just employ the right-wing economists. I hope that the new post will do a better job in terms of poverty alleviation and and helping the economy. But it's useless if you do not have enough support for the new position. For instance, you must know very well the flow of or the development of statutory minimum wage. Mrs. Chen, you a member of the committee or the commission, and the data supplied had a major time lag. This is because the Census and Statistics Department doesn't have enough manpower and it's not efficient enough. So we have to wait until March when we can have the data for Q2 for the second quarter. For instance, figure for the second quarter will only be available in March 2013 before we can activate the review system. So even if we are going to have annual adjustment, it won't do. Well, on the first occasion, we were told that we had to do it slowly because it was the first review. But then in the second review, it's also slow because we have to wait until March when we have the statistics for the second quarter of this year. So the time lag is almost a year. You might have excellent economists for economic analysis, yet the data from census and statistics cannot catch up with your efficiency, and as a result, you cannot have any annual review of the SMW. This is disappointing. If technically speaking you are able to do that and yet you don't do it, then it is the government dragging its feet, and please do not blame it on the technical departments. So even if you have this new post, you do not have more updated figures from CNSD is useless. So the biannual review of SMW, has it got to do with your technical support or is it a government policy? Thank you. Our statistics are lagging behind our analysis. We do appreciate the constraint. I'm sure Mr. Liu Chen has read the report released last year on the SMW. There is a lot of information and data and statistics in it. We, in our overall economic analysis, that's just a starting point. The data for Q2 is just a starting point. We have updated certainly the statistics. The statistics for bringing SMW, some of them has covered Q2 for this year, including wages and income, and we've also checked administrative records, even data covering July and August this year have been included. But I thank you for your views, and we will relay your views to the CNSD for its consideration. And we are responsible for supporting the Poverty Commission. The CNS has to deploy its resources internally to step up the manpower for household income survey so that we can have more timely figures for our work. But as you said, it's just a starting point. If you cannot get started, then we will always be lagging behind. And I'm worried that even with the new post, now I don't want you to be very fat at the top and you trim the lower ranks. But sometimes I understand that you do need the support at the top. Can you ensure that our statistics will be timely and would not lag behind the actual work? For instance, Commission on Poverty and also SMW, will you have enough support instead of doing it by internal deployment of resources? Can you increase the support so that you can have more timely statistics? Thank you. Your views will be related to the census and statistics. As a first step, census and statistics will redeploy its manpower internally so that more people will be responsible for household income survey in order to support the work of the Commission on Poverty and the Commission on SMW. As regards whether they need more permanent posts, that's a second consideration. We thank Mr. Lee for his concern. With your support, it will be easier for us to secure resources for CNSD. So we will put your remarks on record, and you must support their view, their applications for more civil service posts. Yes, I'm of course all for that. Mr. Tam Yu Chung. This new supernumerary post will deal with social issues and population policy and also welfare matters so that we can have more in-depth analysis of various issues, and we can enhance the service to the quality of service to the public. I support that. The CS is responsible for both the Commission on Poverty and Population Policy. And yet, this new post will serve both commissions. What will be the division of labor or the division of work? Of course, the CS Steering Committee is responsible for policy and it's also the Secretariat for the Commission on Poverty and also Population Policy. We're responsible for Commission on Poverty 6 select committees, special committees, and also the Minimum Wage Commission and the CPU, the Government Census and Statistics, and also the Economic Division will both have a role to play. The EAD or Economic Analysis Division will mainly be responsible for economic analysis. So there won't be overlapping of duties or work being not taken up by any division. Division of labor is like this. And of course the CPU will also be involved. We will work as a team. CPU will work on projects. And for EAD, we are more responsible for the regular work. For instance, definition of the poverty line. CPU may review international experience and regard it as a project in its analysis. And under the government economists, we are more responsible for our local economic situation in deciding what should be our poverty line. And then the EAD will be responsible for economic analysis. We may have a policy to help the poor, and if it is to be reviewed, we will carry out quantitative analysis to see how different measures and policies what will be the effect or effectiveness, the cost effectiveness of different policies and measures. Vice Chairman, Mr. Poon, I wanted to ask Mr. Tam's question as well, but you've already provided an answer. To follow up, what about the entry qualifications of the post? What will be the requirements of experience and qualifications? You talk about the principal economist. It is a promotion post. It is packed at D2, so the colleague has to possess a definite degree of professionalism, and he must have served in this position or this field for some time. He or she must regularly attend this panel's meeting and the meetings of the Poverty Commission and the 6 task forces under the Commission on Poverty. So he must possess a certain expert and professional knowledge. Mr. Yip King Yuen, next Chairman.
in the paper, the organization chart, there are now 4 sections. We are to create a new principal economist post, a new team, or a new section. Overall, there will be an increase in manpower. Is that right? You said that there are overall 28 economists in total. Now, after the Section 5 has been created, what will be the increase in the overall staff complement? That's my first question. The second question, compared to Section 4, Section 5 seems to have some overlapping for portfolios with Section 4. Section 4 is labor market education and so on. And then Section 5 is also dealing with poverty, population and issues. Would adjustment be made since there is such overlapping? Yeah, the question that you raised, Chair Lady, is also very important. The overall caliber of our economists. Now, if this is going to be a 3-year supernumerary post, I don't follow why this is a promotion post. Why is it not? Why are we not recruiting people from outside? Thank you for your question. Within the EAD, we've got 28 people. On 1st of April next year, we will add a new team. There will be 3 economists posts, 1 principal economist, 3-year supernumerary post, 1 senior economist post, and 1 economist post. Altogether 3 economists posts. So that's the first question you raised. You were very right. Population poverty are now being handled by Section 4. But then the Section 4 is now closely monitoring the labor market. The team is also fully supporting research on labor issues like the SMW. And early next year, we would also be looking into the standard work hours. So because we will be setting up a new commission, so the workload will be very heavy. So research and study into these 2 areas, i.e. SMW and standard work hours, is already too heavy for this section. And now is now also dealing with population and welfare. If it is also tasked with the poverty work related to the Poverty Commission and the Steering Committee on Population Policy. It really can't do that with its existing manpower. So that's why we suggested creating a new team dedicated to work related to the Commission on Poverty and Steering Committee on Population Policy to provide support for these 2 commissions. This is a principal economist post lasting for 3 years, a supernumerary post. The initial work in these 2 commissions that I mentioned will be sort of exploratory in nature. We have to come up with this analytical framework, a lot of data related to poverty. What will be the analytical framework be like, the assessment mechanism, and so on. The work in the initial period will be very complicated, and so that's why we need a colleague with rich expertise or good expertise to look into it. So afterwards, we'll have to review. It's difficult to guess the workload afterwards. So that's why we proposed a supernumerary post for the first 3 years, and then based on the actual work conditions, we will review whether to turn it into a standing position or a permanent position. Now, because this is a supernumerary post, it's difficult to recruit people from outside. It's a promotion post. It's like an acting arrangement. I don't think it's reasonable. Well, we've got many examples of people bringing in experts from outside to fill supernumerary positions. It's not very convincing. We've got a set procedures on who should be promoted to fill this position. If we can't find anyone suitable from within, then we might consider bringing in someone from outside. But according to the prescribed procedures, we should accord priority to colleagues in a promotion post. Are all supernumerary posts filled through internal promotion? No, I don't think that should be the case because it's a new position. If we are going to look across all departments, I don't think that should be the case. It will be up to the Bureau to decide who to bring in. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, Chair Lady. Are you the government economist? The one you are going to bring in is going to be serving you, is that right? Yes, you are the government economist, is that right? So it's up to you to make that decision. The main duties and responsibilities seems that it's not just limited to poverty. To provide strategic input to various major policy areas, to develop appropriate analytical frameworks on specific policy areas, including population, poverty, and welfare. That's right. 3, to provide economic analysis and support to various high-level commissions chaired by principal officials. 4th, to carry out other duties as directed by the government economists. How much time could this person spend on issues relating to poverty, given that he's got such a big portfolio? I think we should, for poverty alleviation research, we should first develop the targets to be studied. And actually, I think the number 2 is really the main point, or his main work portfolio. I don't think you're putting a very reasonable request here. So it seems that this team is only taking care of one area, according to what you said. Number 2 in your main duties and responsibilities. Now, the person is going to be selected by yourself, the government economist. And you will be the most appropriate person to assume this post, is that right? So, I think the new team is created because you don't have the capacity to deal with all the upcoming workload, is that right? Mrs. Chan, thank you, Mr. Leung, for your question. Yes, I can assure you that Section 5 will only work on the work related to Steering Committee on Population Policy. Well, but then it isn't what is said in the papers. LC paper number CB 4209-12-1305. It's set in stone, black and white here. It's not what you said. Thank you, Mr. Leung, for your views. I can assure you that Section 5 will work mainly on poverty and population policies. At about the attending various high-level committees, what I meant is just these 2 committees, is the Commission on Poverty and the Steering Committee on Population. But it says committees is more than 2. Well, I just want to clarify that there are 6 task forces under the Commission on Poverty, and all these need the support from people from Section 5. of our office. So the way we put it is general, I admit, because there are a number of high-level task forces under the Commission on Poverty which we need to support. I'm not listing them. It's just that I'm not listing them out. Madam Chair, I think it's not right. Well, it seems that Section 5 will only be responsible for 2. Why bother to put in point 1, 3, and 4? And for point number 4, to carry out other duties as directed by the government economist. It's very broad. I don't want to argue with you on the wordings. I've learned economic by myself. And if the wordings are not clear, then that's not good enough. I don't want to argue with you anymore. As I understand, the 6 task forces under the Commission on Poverty will not be headed by government officials. Well, there is this one is the Task Force on Social Security and Retirement Protection. This one will be chaired by the CS4A. But for the other 5 task forces, they are not. So we need to participate in various task forces under the Commission on Poverty. So we have, I'm writing it in a broader sense so that we can provide support to other high-level committees or commissions. Of course, Mr. Lang, please understand that it's the government's way to put in the main duties and responsibilities to carry out other duties as directed by the government economist. I think the government, the way the government has drafted the responsibility is too far-fetched. So let's try to conclude a bit here. 2 points. Supernumerary post. If it is a promotion post, it's internally, they're normally filled by existing civil servants who get promoted. The chief economic advisors, Tang Guangyu, the former one, and it's a promotion post, is that right? And also Mr. Kwok Chin has also taken up that post as well, and he was brought in from outside, so that can be done. Of course, if you are recruiting people, you can allow for people to apply from outside or from within. So, please take into consideration our views. Well, Madam Chair, thank you for your comments. If it is a promotion post, we have set procedures as prescribed by the CSB, and we will abide by that. Now, as to whether we have colleagues who are suitable in the civil service team who are suitable for that post, it's not just the government economist who is making all the decision. The promotion board or the promotion it will be led by somebody else, not the government economist. Well, very, very often it is the case. It will be headed by a D8 colleague. If there is a vacancy and we've colleagues who are suitable for that post, then we will promote him or her. But then in some other cases, say in 2004, there is this government economist post, and we found that no one suitable could be found within the civil service team. Then we brought in someone from outside through an open recruitment. So Mr. Kwok Chin was brought in after we found that there was no one suitable from within. Is that right? So now, in this case, you've got this principal economist post which you are applying for now, and you find that there is a suitable person within the government team. Is that right? Well, let me try to clarify. We'll first look at whether there are suitable candidates from within the government. If not, then we will consider launching an open recruitment exercise. Yes, we will follow that procedures. There is another point raised by members. You've got such a big workload. Everybody knows that. You're now requesting for a D2 position. And do you have enough subordinates to support you? Well, the number of economists in HKMA is larger than your team. Could you create more posts at junior levels to support you? Yes, we do have a very tight staff complement, but in the past 5 to 10 years, on average, we've managed to create 2 posts. We would continuously need more manpower to do a better job, but we understand. We will be very restrained in creating new posts, especially for directorate level positions. Well, thank you, Madam Chair, for your kind concern. And if necessary, we would definitely apply for increasing manpower according to the prescribed procedures. Mr. Yip, I think it's important to increase manpower, but then it's also important to capture the best talents. So for this post and those beneath him or her, should they all be filled by internal promotion, or should we start open recruitment from the very beginning? Say in the curriculum development office, there are expert positions which are open from the very beginning. Is not filled through internal promotion. Well, perhaps we can consider a combination of the recruitment, the types of recruitment that will help inject vitality into the civil service. So, does the panel support creating this post and make a recommendation to the establishment subcommittee? Do you agree with it?
I abstain. Oh, well, we do support. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. So we've completed agenda item number 3, item 4 AOB. Well, if there are no AOB items, then the meeting is adjourned.